you bring them up as a very interesting point. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about them.
Well, first I need to issue an apology. I was very wrong about something a week or two ago. Okay. And I'll own my mistakes on this channel and everywhere I go as best as I possibly can. All right. And I made a mistake with Brooke Lopez. Okay. I was wrong about Brooke Lopez. I was saying that they should look to upgrade Brooke Lopez, maybe get off of him. Um, I kind of I have to say sorry. Brooke Lopez is in a lot of places like a top candidate for defensive player of the year so far this season, justifiably so. I said that, and then I watched a couple of their games in the last week, and I just noticed like, wow, Brooke Lopez actually is insanely good right now. He's playing some of the best defense I've ever seen from him, and he has been doing that all season, and I was wrong. I don't necessarily think they should move on from him just because when in the perfect Milwaukee Bucks situation that we've seen, it's him out on the court with Giannis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday. Those four guys together that's their big four. And last season, and part of the reason that I was, maybe jumping the gun on old Brooke Lopez is just because we didn't see Brooke Lopez for much of last season because the back injury. I think he had a surgery early last year, and that kept him out until the playoffs. And then even then, when he got back, he was super rusty. And I
Yeah.
attributed that to, well, Brooke Lopez is getting old, right?
Hmm.
He's turning back the clock. This dude looks so good, and really what he does is just he plays into his role maybe better than almost any player in the league as far as he does
Hmm.
exactly the things that he needs to do at the highest level he can do them. So that's my biggest retraction probably so far this season, other than the Minnesota retraction of wow, they're terrible. Brooke Lopez shouldn't replace him yet. He's still been very good chemistry guy. Everything you can say positive about him on the court, it's still true. I mean, he's been very good. But
Yeah.
my question is this, Bernie. We were talking about them doing something, right? You brought up Miles Turner. I said that's why we mentioned them a minute ago, or why I mentioned them is just because last week I was
Hmm.
saying Miles Turner should be somebody they should look at to replace Brooke Lopez, but I'm not sure that's the case. And now we've started to hear some Jay Crowder rumors for them. They want Jay Crowder. He's like I think they're leading the race to get him. And I've heard that Grayson Allen is somebody they're willing to move, but the Suns don't want him. What do you think that the Bucks should do? Should they do anything until they get Chris Middleton back? Because I'm kind of in the camp of don't do anything.
Don't
You
do
you
anything
have
until
all
they.
you have all the guys. You have all your guys that won the championship 2 seasons ago, and you have all the guys from last year where you probably should have and could have won the championship if Chris Middleton didn't get hurt. So I'm gonna go into the camp of don't do anything. Just
Yeah.
just wait. What do you think, Bernie?
Um, I mean, I think you can always improve your roster. I think that the Milwaukee Bucks, I think they should make a move for another 3-point shooter because I think that they're missing that kind of PJ Tucker role.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
maybe that's Jay Crowder.
and I've never been a big believer in Jay Crowder. I think
Either.
playoff Jay Crowder has worried me enough as
He's
someone that,
fool's gold for the most
yeah.
part.
And I just think I don't know if you necessarily want that I'm gonna say toxicity, but you definitely don't want that energy if he's out there just complaining about playing time or complaining about whatever, because you want someone that wants to be there. You want someone that wants to give everyone has to sacrifice. Even the superstars have to sacrifice their minutes and even their shot opportunities. And so
Yeah,
is Jay Crowder going to be one of those guys that's willing to be a sacrifice type of guy? That
I
I
think we're
feel like
seeing
it's
that
yet to be
as a no.
seen from him.
Yeah,
And, he's obviously made a big fuss about it from one of the best, kind of somewhat ran organization. I would say Monty Williams, kind of being the, uh, the conductor of that team. Um, if you're not going to get along with Monty Williams, then I don't know who you're
yeah,
going to get along with because that dude is the
very
most
tough.
patient guy in the world. He loves his players. And the fact that, Jay Crowder has kind of talked the way that he has would worry me as someone that is trying to trade for him and to be like, well, do you want to be on my team? Do you not want to be on my team? Like where are we at right now with where you want to be with us, or do you want to just be on your own?
Yeah, I mean we're literally seeing Jay Crowder not be that guy right now. You know, there was a question of he wasn't going to start for the Suns, right? It's going to be Cam Johnson,
Uh-huh.
um, and you know some minute reduction just because Cam Johnson's kind of coming into his own, and that was too much for Jay Crowder. So I do think you have to wonder, like, is that the type of guy you want? And you just said it, and I joked he's fool's gold, but that is Jay Crowder. I think Jay Crowder is one of the most what's the right word for this? I think it's not even so much overrated, but it's misevaluated players. Like I think people really outgrade Jay Crowder for some of his big moments that he's had, and they look at those big moments and they say this is that guy, but he's not really that guy. You know, like
Yeah.
one of the biggest things that people always point to is the defense he played on LeBron in what was it? The wasn't last year, obviously. It was 2 years ago, the year after the bubble, where they went to the playoffs and played the Lakers in round one. And sure, he played great defense, but LeBron was not. I mean, that team wasn't going anywhere. So you could look at it and give Jay Crowder all the credit in the world. He did play great
Yeah.
defense against LeBron, but where is that all the other series? Where is that any other year? I just don't really get it with Jay Crowder. It's just such an overestimation of what he's actually capable of. So I don't know. I probably wouldn't be looking at Jay Crowder personally, especially on a team that has really like traditionally good chemistry as far as the Bucks are concerned. Even when the times get tough for them, they really don't ever crumble as far as their chemistry is concerned. They're not throwing each other under the bus. Nobody's giving each other, side eyes or anything like that. It's just they have a great culture in Milwaukee. And I'm not saying Jay Crowder's going to go there and tank that, but I just don't know if that's the type of guy that you want to go get. Probably not, as far as I'm concerned. But
Yeah.
I'd keep it the way it is. See if you need anything. Let's do one more segment, and there's a good lead into this because a quote from Giannis that just came out, Bernie.
Okay.
Did you see the quote from Giannis? What he said? He's
I think
talking
I
about Evan Mobley,
yes, I did
my
see
guy.
that. I saw that. It's actually one of the stories I was thinking about talking about, but
Well, let's use it. Let's use our Milwaukee Bucks conversation and Giannis as a Milwaukee Bucks player as a nice little
segue.
carryover into Cleveland. You
All
know,
right.
but Giannis just recently, I think it was yesterday, 2 days ago, Giannis is quoted as saying, in reference to Evan Mobley, he can be better than me. Antetokounmpo told Cleveland.com, I don't see why he can't. It's up to him. I will always try and improve every day, but he has the skill set to be a very, very good player. He's 7 feet tall. He can move well. He can shoot. He's smart. As you said, he watches tape of other, so on and so forth, right? But here's the thing, right? Getting into Cleveland, the more of this season that I see, and I know they just, who did they play last night? Cleveland. Let me look this up real quick before I keep going.
They played
Cleveland,
the Bucks last night.
and they lost
One
pretty
se-
bad.
117 to 102. Yes.
Not a close game if you watched it. It was pretty rough. Just not a very good shooting night for Cleveland in general. But the thing about Cleveland is, Bernie, I really think this team is like a legit. I would put them in my top four most likely to win the championship as of right now, based on what I've seen. The coaching, the roster they have, all the pieces they have. There's literally like one spot on this whole team that I would say could definitely be upgraded, and it's their three. Their starting three could definitely use an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with Giannis. I agree with Giannis. And I've said this since, Mobley was in the draft coming up. People didn't really watch a lot of him at USC. This
Yeah.
dude has all the pieces to be one of the five best players in the NBA. He has all of them. He's so smart beyond his years. He's always in the right spot. He's he is one of, if not already, the most versatile defender in the NBA. He might not be that just yet, but he's right there. He can guard anybody on the court. But what have you seen from Cleveland? I think my virtues or my beliefs on Cleveland have been very well made as far as this season has already been concerned. But what do you think about Cleveland, Bernie? I know you weren't as much of a believer as I was coming into this year. Have you
No,
seen anything that's made you change your mind a little bit?
I mean, I was always a believer in them. I think that Bickerstaff is a good coach, and I think that's where
Mm,
my kind of, I would say, belief continues with them. Is that I think that Bickerstaff does a great job with his unit. Adding Donovan Mitchell, that was probably the part that I wasn't sure about. Like, can he continue his
yeah,
success? He clearly shown that he can. I think
it's been
with
better.
Cleveland, I think they're a really good squad. I think you are right about their three, though. They're starting Dean Wade, not a bad player, and obviously Seti Osman gets in there as well in that spot. But Seti plays more of the four in this team. I think that this
Yeah,
team is not bad. I think that there are pieces of it that are obviously need some upgrades and things like that. But for the most part, I like Isaac Okoro as kind of like that third guy coming off the bench. Um, I like Seti Osman. I've always liked him. Robin Lopez is a rebounder. Kevin Love would be the one position I would be like, okay, let's see if we can upgrade that. Because I think at this point, Kevin Love isn't the same Kevin Love that he once was. I know that he can do some things. I know, but he always gets hurt. That's always been kind
he
of his.
does.
That's
He's just
always
my thing with him. He's been such a good, like, valuable veteran team
yeah,
presence for them.
yeah. And I do agree with that. But I think that at some point they'll need to upgrade his position if they want to win the championship. I think this team has all the sauce. I think that they're still missing, if Caris LeVert can continue his like Brooklyn Nets Caris LeVert days, then you have a solid six man off the bench with him. I think this team can do a lot of good things this season. I think they've clearly shown from last year to this year, like the improvement that they've made. I want to see Evan Mobley take that next step. And that's
Hmm.
kind of where I'm at with kind of like the Evan Mobley stuff. Like, again, I was wrong on him when he came out of the draft in terms of, you know, I think he was going to be really good. I think I said his ceiling was Jaren Jackson Jr. like at his best, like JJ Triple J at his best.
Hmm.
And I think he can surpass that. I just think that from what I've seen from him so far, I think that I need to see just a little bit more. And I think that he will eventually get there. I just think it's taken him a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I see for me, and I'll defend my guy here a little bit. I think a lot of that is just like he definitely leaves a little bit to be desired on offense. I think what's he average, like 13 and a half points, I think, right now.
14 and a
Um,
half.
okay, even a little bit better. But even then, you'd hope for more, especially because his offensive skill set is not necessarily representative of 14 and a half points. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I think he's better offensively than that.
I think it's
But
his
I think a
threes,
lot
to
of
be
that has to
honest.
do his three. He definitely needs to shoot a little bit more often too. But he doesn't really need to with this team. Like, I think that's part of the problem is it's not really what he gets asked to
Mm.
do with this
Yeah,
Cleveland squad.
I
And
agree.
that kind of leads me into my next thing. I think honestly, I think they have the best backcourt in the NBA. Am I crazy to say that?
The best backcourt, like with Garland and
Garland and Donovan Mitchell. I think that's the best backcourt in the NBA. I think in terms of the highest potential game for both of those guys on any individual night together. And even more importantly, and this is one of the reasons I was so huge on him going to Cleveland when it first happened, and we talked about it a bunch. Donovan Mitchell, that is, plays so perfectly to what Darius Garland is good at.
yeah,
And you've said this for years. I was a late adopter to the Darius Garland train, but I'm a full believer in this dude. I mean, he is
yeah,
one of the better passers and just offensive kind of on court generals that is in the NBA right now. But the difference is that he could give you 50, and he has already this year. He could give you 50
yeah,
efficiently too. I just think they play together so well already. Darius Garland, I almost said it again. Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell.
yeah.
I do think they might be the best backcourt. I think there's a couple teams that are some obvious competition for them.
Uh huh.
Like you might say Memphis with Bane and John Morant is definitely up for debate, especially how Desmond Bane was playing this season before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Atlanta is a question. The Warriors, I mean, their track record, I think we can say that maybe they're definitely past their prime. Clay, not Steph. Steph is playing probably the best season of his career
Yeah.
right now. Um, do you think there's any other backcourts that are better than them?
Uh,
Like, it sticks out to me a lot when I watch them. Like, I'm mind blown by how good the two of them play together already.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have one of the best backcourts in the league right now. I would, obviously with Boston, they have more front court players with Tatum and Brown being the
Yeah,
backcourt guy, but they definitely have like one of the better backcourts. I think Darius Garland, obviously, playing probably tremendous, is playing really well right now. You can clearly see like from stat wise, everything is up. Assists are up. Steals are up. Percentages from the field goals are up. Like 42% from three is tremendous. I think the only thing down is his free throw. That just might be just because he hasn't taken enough.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I think that this backcourt is definitely doing really solid. I think that when you also look at Mitchell's stats, I think that he is, 30 points a game right now. Obviously, up from his career highs and whatnot.
yeah.
Um, this is definitely starting to become a very interesting team. I'm very excited for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. Obviously, I think they're going to be a top four team in the East. Could be top three if all things play out. If the 76ers can figure their stuff out, then they'll probably be top four. But for right
Yeah.
now, top three. Mitchell playing out of his mind. Mitchell playing really well, showing you assist numbers have been going on. I mean, this guy's playing tremendous right now, and I'm glad
Oh,
that um,
MVP status.
I'm glad that Cleveland is taking a chance on him, and clearly it's working out because they are, you know, I think what are they, fourth in the East, third in the East?
They're right there. Yeah.
Let me see here. Let me see the standings.
They're
They
third
are
right
third.
now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
obviously, in a battle with these other bottom teams, that being like Pacers, Hawks, Philly, Raptors, Wizards, and all that. But I think that they could definitely be up there with the echelons of like a Boston or a Milwaukee, even with the way
Well,
that
and
they with the way that
they
they
beat
play.
Boston twice already so
Yeah.
far this season too. So, and those were two of the best games so far this season. If you guys didn't watch those, I would highly recommend go back check them out. Very good games. I do think they lost to the Bucks twice.
Yeah.
They lost last night, obviously. I think they lost their first game to them too. They're an interesting team just because they have all the pieces I think necessary to get it all done. It's
Mm-hmm.
just staying on the court, staying healthy, and consolidating a little bit, which we talked about in the beginning with the Clippers segment and the trades and Donovan Mitchell. This trade being pretty well constructed in terms of they didn't have to give up any of their core pieces that made them what they were last season.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing it, and I think it's interesting to see players like Giannis, who's definitely a complimentary dude in general. Giannis being one of the nicer guys in the league, he's never afraid to, compliment other players. But it is interesting to see like the culture of the NBA. There's a thing that always happens when a team is on the rise and starting to be, a little bit worrisome for other squads,
Yeah.
where there's a little bit more attention and the big names start to compliment the guys on the squad and so on and so forth. You see this leap in terms of on court quality, and then you have the leap in terms of off court presence in the media and how much you hear about them. And that is a sign that I think people know that there's something cooking here. It's not just a
Yeah.
fluke. This isn't Chicago from last season where people were excited coming into the year for all the moves they made or whatever it was, getting DeRozan, and then they kill the bad teams in the league and kind of distract from how bad they were playing against good teams. This isn't that. This team is legitimately one of the best teams in the league. And I think, like you said, as much as I love Mobley, if he could get himself a little bit more involved on offense, start, hitting some more shots and, picking up the slack that three spot has for them in terms of their starting lineup, this team is going to be like really tough to deal with. Just defensively, super hard. But even then, how do you guard Garland and Mitchell? There's almost no team in the East or West that has anything that can match up with just having two guards like that. So I'm really excited for this team. I would say besides Boston, I've been the most impressed with Cleveland this season in terms of just night in, night out, how competitive they look and how far ahead of schedule they are. Boston is just perfectly carrying over what they did last season that made them special. That's why we don't even need to talk about them. They're killing it on both
Yeah.
sides of the court. Cleveland, is kind of doing the same thing, but people didn't give them credit for it last season. We tried to point it out last year, but they just got so killed by injuries down the stretch that it fell
Yeah.
apart. This is the same thing that JB Bickerstaff had these guys doing last year, except now they have a 30-point per game scorer
Yeah.
who can carry them in clutch minutes down the stretch.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So I I really like this team, man. I'm a huge Cavaliers guy right now, especially with my guy Mobley. I love him.
Mhm.
I'm glad we talked about it. I just thought it was awesome to see Giannis is paying
Yeah.
attention to Mobley, seeing him.
Yeah.
That's big stuff. That's a big
Yeah.
leap to have.
That's
And Mobley's still 19.
Yeah, I mean, there's still tremendous room for improvement for Mobley, and the best part is that, like you said, he's 19 years old. He'll
He's
still
21. I
grow.
lied. He's
You're lying to me. He's not Jason Tatum 19 anymore.
he's
Um,
not. He's
but
my J. He's my Jason Tatum is 19 guy though. Right now.
but I mean, he's still a young guy. I mean, 21 is still great. I mean, by the time I think you're
Hmm.
25, 26, I think you have to figure out what your game is at that point. And so, he's right on track to being a top player. I still think that, like I said, offensively needs to grow a little bit more in that area, but at the end of the day, he's playing really well. We're seeing great things from them, and I'm excited to kind of continue to watch from afar, like how this team does, up until the trade deadline, and seeing like what they need to do, if they need to add anybody. But so far, they've added the right pieces. They're playing really well. They're playing great basketball, and JB Bickerstaff definitely deserves a lot of credit, and definitely a Coach of the Year candidate for this year for sure.
For sure. For sure.
Um, All right, but let us know in the comment section down below what do you guys make of the Milwaukee Bucks, which we talked about a little bit earlier in the stream, and also the Cleveland Cavaliers. Are the Cleveland Cavaliers for real, or are they pretenders? Let us know in the comment section down below.